if we're being kind, then it's kind of guaranteeing that you're being patient. And if you're being patient, then you're being kind. It's when we're impatient that our kindness meter kind of gets thrown off a little bit. And that energy and that vibe, you can tell if someone's running through a room or someone's being like, what do you need? What do you need? You're not going to talk to them and say, hey, can you sit with me for a little bit? I don't want to. And one of the things that they say is, I don't want to be a bother.
Right.
I don't want to complain. They just sit and wait for someone to come visit them. And I'm so lucky I get to be there.
Yeah.
Like, I get to do this. You've got to be, like, I get to sit there and hold their hands, and I cry with them, and I laugh with them, and we tell jokes, and they are just precious.
Welcome, family, to the Bacon Bits Podcast, where we desire for you to take the bits of information and immediately apply them to your life for success. The ground rules for our podcast is that it will always be encouraging, uplifting, and informative. The areas of life that we will be talking about on the Bacon Bits Podcast are dealing with having a balanced life. And I need to hear y'all say it. Say it out loud. Valuable. Information. Applied. Equals success. Ha-ha! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the wonderful world of the bacon. And on this wonderful podcast, we have the one and only, my Lord have mercy, is she lovely? Isn't she wonderful?
Isn't
my
she
queen,
lovely?
Diana Acosta-Bacon. Hi, lovey.
Hey, babe.
How are you?
I'm good. All
Good,
is well.
good.
How you feeling today? Because you're looking good.
Oh, girl, you better watch it now. We got to record a podcast. All right. As we get super excited to record this podcast, I want to have my baby do her thing on this podcast as we are talking about the wonderful subject of...
So let's talk about the lessons I've learned working with seniors at a senior living community.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about the things that we get to learn about. So there's 5 things I just want to talk about, and there's some things under that. But I know that I've been there about a year and a half, and you've joined me by 5 months ago.
Yes.
Maybe. And it's been a blessing to be able to do ministry together. But there's a lot that I get to take away from this, and I am so grateful, and I absolutely love every bit of what I'm doing, but that doesn't negate the fact that it's 100% exhausting.
Yes, indeed.
It's really exhausting. I know
really
they say
is.
don't pour it from an empty vessel, but I'm trying to pour it from my saucer. I want to pour from my overflow, because I want to make sure I always have stuff for you, my love.
Yes, love. Thank you.
I need some energy for you, and so since the brain injury, I didn't even think it would be possible for me to have a job.
Amen.
So this has really been a blessing. So yeah, let's talk about that. And of course, I want to hear your input on this what you've learned, because I know that this is something that wasn't on your agenda.
No, whatsoever.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, and it's not because you don't love the older folks, are wise sages. It's just a matter of, I've done nursing homes probably since before we even met. So it's been about 20 years I've worked in nursing homes, but volunteering in nursing homes. I used to do services, and I've always done music ministry and visitations. I've gotten kicked out of nursing homes. Woohoo! So being kicked out, it was because I was helping them eat ice cream, and I wasn't supposed to be helping them eat food. So I got kicked out a couple times for pushing wheelchairs or, silly things, but I'm sure it wasn't silly to them. So let's talk about what are the 5 top things I've learned. Like, what are my takeaways? So, every time we experience something new in our life, we should be able to ideally look at the situation and say, what am I learning from this? Yes. Whether it's hard, whether it's easy, whether it's happy, or whether it's a sad experience, it's something to say, hold on a minute. What is this teaching me?
Yeah.
What is my takeaway? And how can I kind of transform into a place in my life where I can see this as a blessing, regardless what that thing is, right? So the first thing I have taken away And like I said, it's been about a year and a half, and this is the absolutely best nursing homes, senior facility I have ever worked in, I've ever been in, because a lot of them are very large. If you're in Tucson, one of them was it was a senior living and behavioral health facility.
Yes, I remember
that one was really, really tough. There was about 3 units that were locked down, so you needed special assistance to get in there. And my job is to go fishing. I would go and fish people individually, like inviting people. But they had easily about 150 people there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The second facility was giant. For those who know Tucson, it was Devon Gables. So we all know it's just a great facility, but it's ginormous. They probably have hundreds of people there in different kind of areas. So it's been really fun. This one is a much smaller facility. Yeah. I can't remember the third facility. I can't remember the name, but all we did is music ministry. We'd go and sing once a month and visit some people. And everybody would be inside their rooms. It wasn't like bring them all out. With the other two was we brought them to us into a room, and then we would do a full service. We would encourage them. We would sing, and we would give them a word of inspiration. So what I do now is different. It's from the outside, it may appear to be activities director kind of thing, but what I do is more healing therapy. And that could be physical games. It could be kind of OT, kind of like a therapy for physical activities. Some of them are brain games to help our neurological, our brain stay active and stay cognitive and thinking of different ideas.
Yes,
so one of the first things I think I would take away, so there's 5 things I want to really kind of go on, and please join me if there's anything.
In, babe.
So the first one, and this one can be in any situation, because I really am so grateful that it has come like full circle, right? I did infants and children with in Mexico and then orphanages. We did I did a lot in Tucson with the Church in the Street and with homelessness and addiction and things like that. Just people losing hope. And now I get to be at the other end of it. So from birth to death, and I absolutely love everything. So my first point of what I've learned is definitely applicable. I think all of these are going to apply to every aspect of our life in any situation that we go to. But the first one is slow down and listen. But slow down and listen to be an active listener. Meaning, don't listen to respond.
Right.
Don't listen to one up. Don't listen to try and say, oh, I did this, and to make it about you. Just to be a compassionate and kind and active listener, to hear what they're saying and maybe find a question to ask them afterwards. So you're so actively listening to what they have to say, to what they want to share from their heart, and really have faith that God placed you right there where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. Amen.
I've heard so many people. I've invited several folks to come and join us on Tuesdays. I just go and sing and encourage them. And I think people get nervous. And they're like, oh, I don't know what to say to them. And I feel so weird. And, oh, I feel so bad for them. And, we have to think about the fact that you might be an answer to their prayer.
Amen.
They might feel low and sad and lonely. And you get to be there and just listen and have a conversation with them. So that's definitely my number one. And that applies to every aspect of our life, in every area of our life, right? The second thing that I really have taken away, and this facility, I think I was talking about how the other ones were large. This one is 14 residents.
Yeah,
there's only 14.
Intimate. Yeah,
very intimate, very small. Yeah. Definitely about building relationships. But since I've been there, we haven't lost 10 people. 10 people have passed away. We know where they're at. We haven't lost them, but 10 people have
transitioned.
Have transitioned, and I miss them. But I've learned, and I can pull and take away what they have deposited in my heart and what I took away from my relationship with them. And it can be difficult, but I find more joy and just an honor to get to sit by their bedside and sing songs and encourage them. So my number 2 would be supportive, to be encouraging and supportive, because change is not always easy. I think everybody will agree with that. Change is not always easy. We have to be willing to listen to them and understand where they're at right now is not where they expect it to be. I can't even, I could tell you how many, but one is too many, where some folks have said, I had a home, I had a 2-story home, I had a yard, I had flowers, I had a garden, and now I live in a closet. And it's not a closet, it's a bedroom.
It's not, yeah.
But in perspective, I encourage the listeners to have these conversations with your loved ones. Have these conversations. Don't just talk with your siblings and decide to take a ride with mom or dad and drop them off at a facility that you've arranged for them, and they don't even know that they're going to get dropped off.
Right.
Because there's one too many people that happens to, and they're just left there to try and figure out why. Yeah. So change isn't easy. It's overwhelming, and they have fears and they have doubts, and on the surface they might appear strong, and it's all good because they don't want to be a burden, but the reality is sometimes they're asking, why me? What did I do? And this isn't the life that they planned for. So, be kind and be compassionate, but it's about building relationships. To be supportive is to build. You can't support someone if you don't know what they need support in. You can't encourage them if you don't know where they're feeling lack, right? To live each day to the fullest and living in those moments, because change is guaranteed. Yeah, it's guaranteed. And when you're speaking to people, our bodies and our souls are not the same thing. It's very different.
Right. And I think it was so cool to come on board with you to do this work, because I just love it, because I love hearing stories. Because behind so many of the stories are great principles that you could never get from Googling or, listening to a podcast or some kind of video or some movie. It was just beautiful to have that one-on-one dialogue with the people and just sit there and listen to their stories and understand the principles of why they would do what they would do. Yeah, so I think it was super encouraging just to be there as 2 ears, and listen.
Yeah. The power of presence. There's so much power in just your presence. If anyone listening has ever been in a hospital sick bed, and people will ask, what do you need? Call me if you need something. And most people don't call. And most people can't even identify what they need, but just show up and sitting with somebody. There's so much power in that. There's so much love and kindness in just sitting there. You can read somebody a book. But what you just said was my number 3 is creating connections, building relationships, because family isn't always blood. Right? It's not always blood. And we have to realize and honor and cherish that these connections are so special. And no matter how small they are, to just appreciate every drop of wisdom, because we don't live in a generation now that people are sitting at the foot of the bed of our elders, of our grandparents, our great-grandparents, and hearing the stories that made them who they are, which in turn made our parents who they are, which in turn made us who we are, and why they did the things they did, and how they did the things they did, and how they survived the things they survived, and what are their losses and what are their victories, and what we can glean and learn from that is priceless. It's priceless, sure. But we're not doing that. We'd rather watch a video on TikTok. And granted, they could be fun, but you might have a relative, you might have a neighbor that is lonely. Yeah. They just want to visit. They just want the presence of another human being to drink a cup of coffee with, something. Everything can change in an instant.
Yes, it sure can.
And we shouldn't take anything for granted.
Yes.
Nothing for granted. Which leads us to be kind and be patient.
Yeah.
If we're being kind, then it's kind of guaranteeing that you're being patient. And if you're being patient, then you're being kind. It's when we're impatient that our kindness meter kind of gets thrown off a little bit. And that energy and that vibe, you can tell. If someone's running through a room or someone's being like, what do you need? What do you need? That's you're not going to talk to them and say, hey, can you sit with me for a little bit? I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to. And one of the things that they say is, I don't want to be a bother.
Right.
I don't want to complain. They just sit and wait for someone to come visit them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so lucky I get to be there.
Yeah.
Like, I get to do this. You've got to be, like, I get to sit there and hold their hands, and I cry with them, and I laugh with them, and we tell jokes, and they are just precious.
Yeah, and it's so cool because, this is what got me out of my comfort zone, and we'll talk about that on a different episode. But it was so cool just to know I get excited on Thursdays to come see my guys.
Mm-hmm.
I see my ladies too. I appreciate them, but it's almost like I have an endearing affection for my guys because I know how it is as men in nursing homes. Usually the visitation rate for men is a quarter of what it is for women. So for men to get visitors usually in a nursing home is usually super rare. And so it is a tremendous honor and a blessing for me to come in here and talk to these guys, 20, 30 years older than me. And it's just to hear their wisdom and their knowledge and their insight on things. And it just really helps me to really enjoy the life that I'm living now by hearing some of the things that they've been through.
Yeah. And physically, verbally, with our presence, with your presence, and I'm talking to the listener, there's somebody that you're thinking of right now. Yeah, but you don't know how annoying she is. And, but you don't know how slow they are. And yeah, I get it. But show your love, your admiration, your appreciation. And it could mean something as small as showing up.
Yeah.
Bring a sandwich and just sit with them while they eat lunch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just sitting there. There's some ladies that just go and I just hold their hand for a little bit.
Yeah.
Until they feel less sad. To sit up a little bit. And I'm totally a space invader. I completely admit I am a space invader here in the flesh and wherever I am. I will invade your little bubble of space and say, come on, you can be alone when I leave. But for now, you're going to come spend time with us. Come on, there's no point in being alone when we don't have to be. And they'll verbally say, I'm too sad. I'm like, okay, well, we'll be sad here for 10 minutes and then we're going to get up and we're going to go be together.
Mm-hmm.
And it might not take your sadness away, but at least we get to be together for a little bit. Yeah. Right? So making an effort makes such a difference. And this goes with our ailing parents. This goes with our neighbors. It goes with our friends. There's somebody out there that you know. Maybe they just became a recent widow. Maybe they just become an empty nester. Right. Maybe they're in a nursing home. Maybe you feel guilty that they're there and you haven't gone and seen them. Delete all that stuff from your mind. Erase it all about guilt and shame and just show up.
Just show up. Yeah.
Show up. Show up with a candy bar. They sure love those. They love their candy bars, boy.
That's
Show
right.
up with a candy bar or
a stuffed animal.
A stuffed animal.
Yeah.
We do bingo on Thursdays and we got some big giant stuffed animals and they're not as giant as we would like, but they were by probably like 15, 14 inches. They're probably like 14, 16 inches.
Yeah. Might be a little
when
bigger.
they stand up, maybe 2 feet almost. But I can't tell you that they just grabbed them and hugged them and they're so excited to sleep hugging something tonight.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot.
It really
doesn't take a lot. So figuring out ways to show your appreciation. Sit and do a puzzle with them. Mm-hmm. Sit and just have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
So my last one is something that, again, every single one of these applies to every part of our life.
Yeah.
Whether it be with friends, whether it be with work, whether it be with family. It applies to all the aspects of our life. And the last one is to reflect. It's just, I have had the privilege of reflecting more than I've ever reflected in my life. And I, becoming disabled, boy, I reflected a lot of stuff of what was I doing and what am I doing and will things ever change and how will things change and can I have hope? Because sometimes hope deferred makes the heart sick and it's disappointing. And when you get disappointed, you stop having hope. And man, just the type of deep reflection on what do I want to do? What can I do? And then how can I do this?
Right.
Where can this happen? How is this possible? Who will come alongside me to help? Just the ability to reflect. I don't want to miss what is the most important part of me being there.
Yeah.
I don't want to miss it. Because as they look back over their life, I know that one thing everybody knows is that cars, clothes, careers, there's always going to be a sacrifice. You're sacrificing something for the bigger car, for the better clothes, for the bigger house, for the fancy career. What are you sacrificing? Because when it's all done, what are we left with, right?
What really matters.
Yeah. You think COVID would have taught us some things, and I think people learned that lesson. But let's not forget the lesson that was being taught. Let's not forget it.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of people starting to forget it a little bit. We're starting to forget it. You know, Mother Teresa is one of my idols, and she said, do small things with great love.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot. If I see somebody and their hair's a mess, I'll go there and I'll get their little brush and I'll just brush their hair down. Because they want to look good. If you want to look good, they want to look good.
Yeah.
If their face got something on it, they get a little wet towel and wipe their face. Just hold their hand.
And I think a big part of it, too, that's kind of cool is just got to teach after we're teaching on a class on the 5 love languages. And it's cool to be able to go in there. And sometimes you might feel awkward or might feel uncomfortable because you might not know the person or you're not actually an extrovert or anything like that. But I can guarantee you, if you think about what the 5 love languages are, and you can use one of those languages towards the individuals, man, it'll be such a blessing to you. Because if you treat them the way you would desire to be treated if you was in that situation, whether it's a little small gift, whether it's, like you said, holding hands. One of my admissions to the bingo games that we do on Thursdays is how do you pay me back? Okay, so it's going to usually be 1 or 2 hugs. It's just a matter of how much I'm, being needy my own self. But it's wonderful to get a hug from them, and in return, guess what? You're giving them a hug. So sometimes just that little bit of contact is just a beautiful thing because we take that so much for granted. And it could be some words of encouragement. They already starting to feel bad about themselves because they can't do what they brain is telling them they still can do. And our brains seem like sometimes they never age, but those bodies can't do what we used to do. But to give them a word of encouragement, thank you for coming out. Thank you so much for participating and singing. Thank you for playing games with us. You might have not thought you was that good at the game, but they come to find out they usually are really good at the games that we play. And
very aggressive and very competitive.
Very competitive.
Sometimes I have to hold them down because they want to jump out of their wheelchairs or jump and fall, and I'm so afraid they'll fall. And again, it goes back to our soul and our bodies are not the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? They still have that inside of them that they just want to be a teenager.
Yeah, and that's the cool part about watching them when we have certain games and we're competing against each other. Oh, it's some serious competition. Yeah, they don't play. They are super serious about winning those games, and it is so fun to see because it makes you enjoy the fact that that little fire, that little spunk that you still have in you. I had one young lady, she was in her 90s, and she was the spunkiest one there. When it came to playing games and throwing balls and bean bags, she had the most strength because she was trying to really knock the ball out the park, the living room, we would say. Yeah, but she really was super competitive, and it was so beautiful to know that she was such an athletic person when she was younger, and it still was in her 90s. That was phenomenal to see that.
Yeah, she was 94.
Yeah.
And those are just blessings that we get to see, that we get to learn from that, right? So reflecting, what can we all reflect on as we reflect back on our life? Like, where are we right now, right? Are we proud of the life that I'm living right now?
Yeah.
Life isn't too short. Life is too short, I should say. Life is too short. And it's very precarious. Like, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Nothing is promised. And it's too precarious to not live the very best life that you're capable of living.
Yeah.
Now, we all have limitations. We all have boundaries. We all have responsibilities. We all have obligations. But we still have time to reflect back. With all our limitations, with all our fears, with all our tears, with all our doubts, live your best life.
Yeah.
We have to start deciding now. If anything, I can reflect back, and I know, I'm really grateful that God has allowed me an opportunity to be there, because it was already in my heart that I really want to do some things with end of life. I just think it's beautiful. So as we kind of wind down, maybe some reflection pieces for us to reflect on in our own life. Like, think about, decide how you want to live your life. Decide how the end of your life might look like.
Yeah.
What that might look like. You're never too young or old to make an impact on our life, on anyone's life.
That's right. Yes, indeed.
You're never too young or too old. And, as these people, they're in their last stages of life. They're in their 80s. The majority of them are in between their 80s and mid-90s.
90s, yes.
The majority of them. And we can honestly say that the sand in the hourglass is winding down. And we get to be part of that. We get to be present in their life. And they might not have expected that. But we have to remember that although they might be in actively dying phase, it's about living now. Yeah. It's about what they're living now.
Being in the
today.
Moments. Yes.
Yeah, in those special moments, right? So as we reflect back and we think, how do I want the end of my life to look? How do I want my life to look now? If I want my death to be beautiful, I want it to wind down and be beautiful. The only way to have a beautiful death is to live a beautiful life.
You might want to say that one again.
The only way,
yes, love,
to have and experience a beautiful death,
yes,
is to live and experience a beautiful life.
Yeah. Yes.
Don't have regrets. Don't be afraid. And if you are afraid, do it afraid.
Yes, please. Please.
And if learn how to speak up for yourself. And if you don't know how, and with tears running down your face, speak up for yourself. Figure out where your boundaries are. Figure out where your limitations are. Figure out what's holding you back. And as long as you're not hurting or harming other people, man, live your best possible life that you are physically and financially capable of living.
Yeah.
Don't wait.
Please don't. We only get one life, man, and this is the time to live it now. This is the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I've learned a lot of things with my precious residents there. I'm grateful to be there. I love them so much. And when we become an active listener, we know what they need because we're listening to their stories. We understand when we build a relationship, we already can perceive some of the things that they are needing. It could be a word of encouragement. It's usually not stuff. It's honestly never stuff.
Yeah.
But we will learn how to encourage another. We will learn how to lift their spirits. And sometimes, again, that looks like sitting with them and letting the tears flow together.
That's it.
And then my favorite saying at work is, come on, we're going to go sing ourselves happy.
Yes.
And I sit at the piano or I grab my guitar. And because I have relationships with them, one of the first questions I ask them is, what is your favorite music? What's your favorite song? And we sing. And sometimes they cry, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes they sing with me, and that's amazing.
Yeah. The memories that music brings back.
Yeah.
It's priceless.
Yeah. So take the time and remember, if you want the end of your life to be beautiful, let your today be beautiful.
Yes, indeed. All right, guys. What a wonderful, wonderful way to end the episode. Super grateful to be on here with my baby as always. Love you guys. Pray you really do take advantage of the life that you have. We love you guys. God bless. All right, what's up, family? It's your boy John Bacon from the Bacon Bits Podcast. Thank you so much for your support, likes, and ratings. Please don't just listen, but rate me, follow me, and subscribe. This is an amazing way to offer free support. My beautiful queen and I have some books that we have written for your growth.
So the first book we have is a workbook, actually. It's called Healthy Relationships, and this is a workbook through the lens of faith. because what makes a relationship healthy or unhealthy? So this workbook is designed, it's a 12-week, it's a biblically grounded course, and every week has a few different principles. So some of our principles, some of our topics that we're covering are respect, cultivating security. And this is not just between a husband and wife, this is between parents, between siblings, between friends, between your bosses, employers. So it's really important, and everyone deserves a healthy relationship.
And also we have The Balanced Life by John Bacon. It covers how to be prosperous in your finances, relationships, your health, your mind, and your spirit. So you can pick that up on Amazon, also on audiobook. And we also have
The Unraveling, a creative healing journal, pinings, poems, prayers, and ponderings of my precarious life. I've had a testimony of I've had 2 brain tumors and 2 brain surgeries, and I'm super grateful, but I'm still grieving the process of healing. And this is part of the process. In this book, you have devotionals, you have prayers, and you have some ponderings. And in between these pages, there's a space for you to also be prompted to paint and to create your own, or maybe you want to write something in these books. This is part of your creative healing journal that we get to walk through together.
And you guys can just head over to Kingdom Servants First. Kingdom Servants, the number 1, st.com. And you can purchase all 3 of these books. Thank you for your support, your love, and your contributions. God bless.